I met Riley during freshman orientation. She was loud, funny, confident, the kind of person who could walk into a room and instantly make everyone laugh. I was quieter, more reserved, and not really into the whole social media scene. Riley, though, lived for it. She'd record everything, from her morning coffee to random people she met in class. At first, I thought it was harmless. She wanted to be an influencer, and honestly, she had the charisma for it. We clicked fast. I think it was because she made me feel included. When I was with her, I felt like I mattered. We studied together, went to parties, and even took spontaneous road trips when classes got too stressful. She'd always post little clips of us laughing, singing, or doing something silly. I didn't mind being in the background. But as her follower count grew, I started noticing subtle shifts. She began exaggerating things for content. Like she'd tell stories on TikTok about her awkward best friend, who couldn't talk to guys, clearly referencing me, and laugh about it while I sat right next to her. The comments were full of laughing emojis and people saying things like, "I love your dynamic," and "she's like your pet sidekick." At first I brushed it off. Riley was just being Riley, right? But the jokes got worse. She started using clips of me without asking. Ones where I looked tired or where I was talking about something serious that she turned into a meme. One video blew up where she recorded me spilling coffee on myself. The caption was, "When your friend's brain-to-hand coordination fails." It got over 200K views. People commented things like, "She's adorable, but wow, she's clumsy," or, "Girl, get a new bestie who isn't a walking disaster." I laughed it off in front of her, but deep down it hurt. I told myself I was being too sensitive, that she didn't mean harm. But things escalated when a brand reached out to both of us after one of her videos went viral. It was a small local boutique that wanted to do a photo shoot featuring real college friends. They messaged Riley first and she excitedly told me, "We're doing this together." Then 2 days before the shoot she said the brand decided to only need one model. I congratulated her, genuinely, but something didn't sit right. Later when I saw the boutique's post on Instagram, they tagged 2 people, Riley and another girl from our class. That was the first time I realized she was actively cutting me out. I tried talking to her. I said I felt uncomfortable being part of her videos without my consent. She rolled her eyes and said, "You're overreacting. You should be happy you're getting exposure. People love you." Exposure. That word stuck with me. I wasn't an ad. I was her friend. A week later she posted another video, a funny story time about the jealous friend who couldn't handle success. She never said my name, but the comments guessed it instantly. They flooded her replies with things like, "Drop her," and "You're better off without negativity." I felt humiliated. People I didn't even know were mocking me, calling me bitter and insecure. I stopped talking to her for a while. Still, she kept tagging me, posting throwback videos, and using me as a character in her relatable content. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was during finals week. I was in the library, exhausted, when my phone started buzzing like crazy. Notifications, TikTok, Instagram messages. I opened one and froze. Riley had posted a clip of me from months ago, one where I was crying after a fight with my ex. She'd captioned it, "When your bestie can't handle heartbreak, loudly crying face, broken heart." It was supposed to be private. I told her that night that I didn't want anyone to see me like that. And now thousands of strangers were watching, commenting, and laughing. Some even started following me, tagging me in reactions. I confronted her immediately. She said, "Relax, it's just a video. Everyone's been through that." I said, "That was my breakdown, Riley. Not your content." She laughed, actually laughed, and said, "You're taking this too seriously. If you don't want to be in my videos, just don't hang out with me." So I stopped. I blocked her, unfollowed her, and focused on my exams. I thought that was it, but she didn't stop. She kept mentioning me in storytime videos, describing me as her crazy ex-friend who turned on her. But karma has a funny way of showing up. A few weeks later, a mutual friend, Lila, sent me a message, "You need to see this." She sent a link to Riley's private group chat, a Discord server she ran with other influencers. They'd apparently been gossiping about their collabs and strategies for engagement. Someone had leaked screenshots, and there was my name all over it. Riley had been planning those storytime videos for weeks. She even called me her relatable emotional asset. One message said, "People love the contrast between her boring vibe and my energy. I'm going to milk it before she cuts me off completely." My stomach dropped. I scrolled through pages of it, her mocking my looks, my social anxiety, even my clothes. There were voice messages where she pretended to mimic me, whining or crying. It didn't feel real. But then I realized I had proof. Everything. Screenshots, videos, her posts, the leaked chat. I didn't even need to expose her myself. Someone already had. The leak spread fast. People on TikTok started stitching her videos, calling her manipulative and fake. Brands quietly pulled out of collaborations. Her follower count started dropping overnight. I didn't say a word publicly. I didn't have to. When I ran into her on campus a week later, she looked exhausted. She tried to speak, but I walked past her. For once, the silence was mine. But that wasn't the end. Not yet. Because a month later she came back with an apology video, tears and all. She said she was going through a rough time and never meant to hurt her friend. Her fans flooded the comments with sympathy again, some saying everyone deserves a second chance. And maybe that would have worked if she hadn't made one mistake. In her apology, she showed old screenshots of our DMs, trying to prove we were fine. But one of the messages she showed had her own reflection visible, in a mirror holding another phone. People zoomed in. It was obvious she was recording herself reading fake messages. The internet tore her apart after that. Me. I finally got peace. But the real revenge wasn't her downfall. It was realizing I'd stopped letting people like her define my worth. I started posting small art pieces online, things I'd been too shy to share before. Slowly, people began to notice. Not because I was in drama, not because I was someone's content, but because I was just me. Still, sometimes I think about how close I came to losing myself for someone else's audience. And every time I do, I remind myself, not everything worth sharing belongs online. After Riley's fake apology blew up in her face, I thought that was the end of it. She vanished from campus for a while. Her social media went dark except for one post where she wrote, "Taking a break to focus on my mental health." I almost laughed. It felt ironic that the girl who spent years exploiting everyone else's moments suddenly wanted privacy. But life has a way of moving on. Classes continued, deadlines came and went, and I started rebuilding my peace. For the first time since meeting Riley, I felt like my life belonged to me again. No cameras shoved in my face, no performative laughter for an audience. Just quiet mornings, real conversations, and friends who didn't need to turn every hangout into a vlog. A few months later, though, she came back. It was subtle at first. A new TikTok account with a slightly different username, new hair, and a rebrand into authentic lifestyle content. The first few videos were harmless. Morning routines, coffee shots, little monologues about finding yourself after betrayal. I didn't follow her, but people kept sending me her clips. She was clearly trying to crawl her way back to relevance. I ignored her. I had better things to do. A new job at the campus art gallery, freelance design projects, and actual friends who liked me for me. But one night while scrolling through my feed, I saw her face again. Someone had posted a side-by-side comparison, an old clip of her mocking me next to her new inspirational video where she said, "If you've ever hurt someone, take accountability and grow from it." The comments were brutal. People weren't buying the act this time. One wrote, "You didn't grow, you got caught." Another said, "Not the same girl who called her friend a clout prop skull. Part of me pitied her. Another part didn't. But the real twist came later. Something that, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed. It started when I was working late at the art gallery one Friday evening. I was closing up, alone, when I heard someone call my name. I turned and there she was. Riley. Standing by the door, holding a coffee like she'd just strolled in from another dimension. For a second I thought maybe she wanted to apologize again, for real this time. But the look in her eyes wasn't guilt. It was calculation. She said she'd been thinking about me a lot, that she wanted to reconnect. She said she was doing a documentary series about cancel culture and how social media destroys real friendships. She wanted me to be part of it. I just stared at her. I told her flat out that I wasn't interested, that I didn't want to be filmed or mentioned ever again. Her smile didn't even falter. She said, "I think it'd help your image too. People would see your side. We could both heal publicly." I laughed. Like an actual bitter laugh that surprised even me. I said, "Riley, you destroyed your reputation, not mine. I don't need to heal publicly." She blinked like she couldn't process it. For someone who built her whole life around online validation, the idea that someone could just not care was apparently unthinkable. She left soon after, muttering something about me throwing away an opportunity. I thought that was the last I'd hear of it until 2 days later. Someone DM'd me a link to a YouTube video titled, "The Truth About My Friendship Fallout, a Documentary." The thumbnail was her face, tear-streaked, dramatic lighting and all. I almost didn't click. But curiosity won. Half the video was her pretending to reflect. The other half, blatant manipulation. She used old photos of us together, blurred my face, and said things like, "She betrayed me when I needed her most. She tried to ruin my career." The comments were divided. Some still believed her, others called her out. I wanted to scream, but instead I did something smarter. I sent the link, along with timestamps, to the student media committee. Because here's the thing. Riley had used footage shot on campus property without permission. And one of those shots clearly showed the university logo behind her. By Monday morning the video was gone. Taken down for copyright violation. She posted a long rant about haters trying to silence her voice. But at that point no one cared anymore. The internet had moved on. And she couldn't handle that. I didn't hear from her again for months. Life went on. Graduation came and went. I got a design internship at a creative agency downtown. It felt like the fresh start I'd been waiting for. Until one afternoon I got an email from an unfamiliar sender. A PR firm. The subject line, "Collaboration Inquiry." I opened it, excited, thinking it might be a real opportunity. Instead I froze. The email mentioned Riley's name. Apparently she was working under a new brand, a different persona entirely, and had recommended me for a joint campaign. They said, Riley spoke highly of your creativity and said she'd love to collaborate again now that you're both growing professionally. I almost laughed out loud. She still didn't get it. Still thought she could drag me into her mess for attention. So I replied. Polite, professional but direct. I said, thank you for reaching out, but I will not be collaborating with Riley in any capacity. Please remove my name from any joint proposals. She and I have no ongoing professional or personal relationship. 2 days later, I got another email from the same PR firm. This time from a different rep. They apologized profusely and said they had no idea about the situation. Apparently, Riley had used my name without permission in her pitch deck, claiming we were co-founders of a creative storytelling collective. That was the final straw. I forwarded every email along with the old screenshots and leaked messages to the PR manager. I didn't say a word publicly, I didn't need to. Within a week her new account was gone. Deleted. A friend later told me she tried to rebrand one last time under another alias, but it never took off. She was burned out, exposed too many times, and people had stopped buying the act. It's been over a year now since all that happened. Sometimes when I scroll past influencer drama online, I think about her, how someone so desperate to be seen ended up invisible. And sometimes I wonder if she ever really had friends, or just followers she temporarily called that. As for me, I've learned to keep my circle small. I post my art, my projects, but nothing personal. No names, no faces, no stories that belong to anyone but me. Because I realized something. People like Riley aren't addicted to fame. They're addicted to control. To shaping reality so they always look like the main character. But life isn't a highlight reel. And when the camera turns off, you're left with who you really are. And her problem was simple. She never liked herself enough to be that person off screen.